Irvingman! Uncle Oscar is back. Today, Sterling Holloway will return in his role as the ADD scientist. Oh, they'll call him absent-minded or something like that because ADD haven't really been sorted out or studied yet. By the time I came along, it still hadn't, but someone came up with the word hyperactive. I never picked up that label. I was just the underachieving kid who didn't apply himself. It didn't occur to teachers, counselors, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, or anybody else.
Ahem. Pardon me, good people, but some of you may have taken offense at Irving's use of the term Indian chief. The expression he used comes from a children's rhyme of the early to mid-20th century. The rhyme details various life situations and careers in such a way that young girls found it easy to recite while skipping rope. The rhyme says, rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. As you see, there is no malice intended, merely an attempt at a rhyming scheme. Please refrain from reading too much into it.
That there might be an underlying physiological reason why some of us were like that. Did something just happen?
This is Miss...
Nancy Quinn. I'm Professor Quinn's niece.
Why, of course. I haven't seen the good professor in over 2 years, since he retired.
Well, that's why I'm here. You see, he didn't actually retire.
Good inventors seldom do. Don't tell me he's still experimenting with molecular hydroactivity.
That's what I don't know, Mr. Kent.
No, your name is Alice. You don't talk, and you work for Jimmy's aunt at that lighthouse place. No, wait. Your name is Maria, and you're after that message the monkey was delivering. No, wait.
But for 2 years, he's been conducting a secret experiment. And this afternoon, he's going to test the results.
And you don't even know what the experiment is?
Nobody in the world knows except Schuyler.
Schuyler?
Oh, you'll meet him when we get there. That is, if you'll come.
Jimmy, grab your camera.
Her real name was Aline Roberts. I hope I pronounced that right, but there aren't too many alternative ways to pronounce Roberts. Anyway, she started getting attention at the age of 11 when an aunt apparently submitted her picture for a contest the New York Daily Mirror was holding to find America's most charming child. She won, and a little ways down the road, that helped her get a screen test and eventually the title of working actress. She acted for about 10 years, but then she met Ralph Cochran. She was deeply religious and traditional and turned down more than one role that would have violated her personal moral code. But she needn't have worried much longer because Mr. Cochran won her heart and she retired from acting to be his wife for the next 44 years. Some of us feminists today might look askance at that, but by all accounts, she was happy. This was what she wanted. That being the case, this life choice of hers isn't for us to judge. She made the choice and was okay with it. Anything beyond that is none of our stinking business. So what's the professor's big scientific breakthrough?
Now, I wonder what I did with that vial of copper sulfide.
It's in your hand, Uncle.
In my hand? That's preposterous. That's preposterous. That's copper sulfide.
Uncle Oscar hasn't changed a bit, and that's a good thing. We love him just the way he is, copper sulfide and all. No matter which copper sulfide it is, Wikipedia lists at least 10 different kinds. We can assume he knows what he's doing and which one he needs, which may or may not be a safe assumption, as we've seen before.
I'm sorry, I forgot you were here.
We weren't, Professor. I hope you don't mind our breaking in on you like this.
Mind? You're just in time to witness the greatest experiment of a lifetime.
Well, now that sounds mighty important.
Oh, it's the greatest boon to modern humanity.
Okay, what is it? A cure for cancer? A reliable food supply? A way to purify seawater? What is it?
And I understand you have a new assistant, Schuyler?
Schuyler, oh yes, he's a great help, a great help. He's over there in the cage.
In the cage.
Schuyler is a talking parakeet. Uncle Oscar didn't want to write down his whole formula in case someone stole it, so he left one critical component out of his notes and taught it to Schuyler instead. He trained the bird to recite the formula when he rings that little bell on top of the cage. And his concerns were well-founded because just the night before, someone broke into the lab and stole a copy of his notes. Now we know this formula has to be earth-shaking. So what is it?
What do people hate worst of anything in the world? They hate to lick postage stamps. And so I have invented a new and stronger glue, but with 6 delicious flavors.
Postage stamp glue. That's his big boon to humanity. Stamp glue that tastes good.
Beef stew, liver and onions, ham, lamb, veal, and vegetable plate.
I was expecting things like apple pie, penny candy, peppermint. I figured it was going to taste like dessert, not supper. Also, liver and onions?
Professor, the Secretaries of America will erect you a statue.
I'm not sure why. The Secretaries of America who had to handle lots of letters normally used a damp sponge to wet the stamps for exactly that reason. It sat in a little container on her desk, and all she had to do was swipe the stamp over it, and it was ready to go. If you're under 30, you might not know what the big deal is. Don't you just peel the stamp off the backing paper and stick it to the envelope? Yes, now you do. That's a fairly recent development. In fact, you may still use envelopes that require you to lick the glue on the flap so it'll stick. Stamps used to be the same way. You had to lick or otherwise wet the back of the stamp and glue it to the envelope. If you've licked an envelope lately, you know that glue tastes pretty bad. Multiply that by about 50 and you have the flavor of stamp glue. Honestly, it tasted like something you wouldn't want to put in your hand, much less in your mouth. And it would dissipate in less than 10 seconds. I have a feeling Uncle Oscar may be overestimating the impact of his big discovery.
You ready?
Or not. You get the feeling that happens to Uncle Oscar a lot. Everyone is all right. You may have noticed that Clark is so super the explosion didn't even ruffle his suit, though it did knock his hat off. If you tried to grab him by the lapels, your fingers would probably come away going "Purr."
It may be quite some time before you could use that.
Why?
Because unless I'm wrong, the government is going to want to keep this top secret. Uncle Oscar's mistake can be very valuable.
Clark is going to the authorities to make sure. Uncle Oscar is going to take his daily walk in the park with Skylar. I'm not sure why the bird needs a walk, especially since he's on occasion and won't be doing any walking anyway, but just go with it. It's Uncle Oscar. We're beyond seeking explanations. And you know that picture Jimmy took to mark the occasion? There's something unusual about it.
Oh, yes. 2 people looking in that window. And it looks like we weren't the only ones that saw the big mistake.
Not to mention, why were they spying on Oscar? Here comes one of them now. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe he didn't hear you. Try this. He's too engrossed in his notes. Come up behind him and drape the hem of your dress over his head, or clonk him in the head with your purse. Ah, yes, the age-old trick to get a gentleman's attention. Except Professor Quinn is a scientist, not a gentleman seeking the company of a lady. Okay, that worked. He's apologizing all over himself and assuring her that the bird did that, not he. She doesn't care. She has what she wanted, his attention. Just then, Clark appears.
Well, Professor, am I interrupting something?
Oh, Clark Kent.
That's right.
I want you to meet,
Dorothy Manners.
yes.
My pleasure, Miss Manners.
Miss Manners, the pen name of Judith Martin, wrote a column on etiquette starting in 1978. I wonder if this is where she got the name. In any case, when Clark and the professor step aside to talk, she proves that she doesn't live up to her name.
I'm not quite sure. You remember that picture Jimmy took in the lab?
What on earth would she be doing outside my lab window?
Well, maybe you can find out. Going back to that bench, she'll probably try and pump you. Let her.
This is a family show. Nobody's doing any pumping. What she's really doing is switching birds. Now she has Skylar and Oscar has a ringer.
I bet you if she knew that Skylar knew the formula, she would have taken him.
Little does he know, as they say.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
A squirrel found it, thought it smelled nice, and took it home to his wife. Next day, she kicked him out of the tree. The villains know Skylar has the rest of the formula. What they don't know is how to get it out of him.
Come on, give. Formula, chemicals.
Get him giving a bird the third degree.
I suppose you could do better.
I was only supposed to get the bird, not guarantee him to talk.
That's right. Her job was to give you the bird, and she did it.
Come on, pal. The sooner you talk, the sooner you get something to eat.
Sure, Skylar. He'll take you out for a nice hot beef sandwich.
That's what I need, wisecracks.
Dude, you told her to give you the bird. You didn't tell her when to stop.
My scientific mind is not amused. I would hate to report to our superiors that you have resorted to practical jokes.
I tell you, Doc, this bird can fill in the formula. I won't know what it means, but you will.
So far, all I've heard is kill the umpire, hit the deck, and 2 choruses of Yankee Doodle.
And your scientific mind can't extract the formula from those obvious code words? What kind of foreign spy are you? There's only one thing to do. Go see the professor. He's just realized this bird isn't Skylar. He's calling Clark to tell him about it.
Oh, yes, that's right. And, go ahead, my child. Mr.
Using the power of alien GPS, Clark maps out the fastest route to the professor's lab in his mind, then springs into action.
Miss Lane, where are the others?
What others? There's nobody else here.
I think his alien GPS needs some recalibration. Lois just got there and found the place empty. He sends her back to the office and then leaves.
Come on, you two, over there.
Very well equipped room, Professor.
You think so?
For nuclear experiments.
Thank you.
I'm referring, of course, to the lead walls. They keep the gamma rays in.
Yeah.
And Superman's vision out.
I'm a little surprised he didn't show that place to Clark. But if he had, we'd have to find a different way to fill all that runtime. By threatening to hurt Nancy and Jimmy, Spike convinces Uncle Oscar to give up the formula.
But, how come the sliding wall business?
Oh, you see, before I retired, I used to use that room extensively. I didn't want anyone to know what kind of work I was doing.
But we knew, Professor. That's why we thought it logical to assume that this latest experiment of yours was of the same nature.
Well, fudge. Here I was all set to nail this episode because there was no good reason why foreign spies would be watching a guy who's inventing stamp glue. Now you've gone and ruined it. I never have any fun.
Would you kindly tell me what you expected to find in the public park, or did you just feel like a stroll?
Does he ever tell you anything? You should be used to it by now.
Oh, thank you, Clark, but I have 24 of my own.
No. The professor said she dropped her handkerchief, but he was so immersed in his work he probably didn't register.
Then that belongs to the mysterious Lady Birdwatcher.
Exactly.
But, well, Clark, look, it's initialed. R.M.
R.M. You mean Dorothy Manners might not be her real name? I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you.
You've got the formula and you've got a sample. Now, I wish you would just get out and leave us alone.
I will have to take this to our superiors and show them a controlled percussion demonstration.
And all I can say, Professor, is it better go boom.
What shall we do with them?
He'll lock them in that secret room and turn off the airflow so they suffocate. But Jimmy has an idea. Set off the sprinkler and the fire alarm. The fire department will get them out.
Listen! Listen! Oh, well, that's very fine, except that nobody knows this room is here. And they'll go to the lab looking for a fire. They won't find one. They'll think it's a short circuit.
And this whole room will fill up with water.
Oh.
Why was I born so clever?
More to the point, why didn't the professor think of that before you set the alarm off? Clark gets a call about the fire alarm. Once he gets rid of Lois and that other guy, he'll spring into action.
Superman!
Oh, don't worry. The professor spends all his time down in the lab, so he's never even seen the upstairs. There's no danger of him falling through that hole later.
I've got it. I've got it. The formula. You see, 2 of the chemicals react on each other after a given time. And somehow the other chemicals aid in this reaction and 100-fold or more. And that's why we got such a big explosion.
It's good to know he's been focused on the important things. All the best scientists know that figuring out the formula is way more crucial than staying alive.
Well, how long does this reaction take?
Well, it depends on the quantity. But this I do know. Before the mixture explodes, it will begin to bubble. Bubble.
Sure enough, a beaker of the stuff is bubbling in the lab. I suppose Superman is going to go pin it between himself and a wall like he did with that nitroglycerin last episode.
Oh, there's no time to get rid of it. We'll all be blown to bits.
That's more like it. I guess he watched some cartoons between last episode and this one.
That's a spicy meatball!
Oh, if you hadn't smothered the force inside of you, the whole neighborhood would have been blown to bits.
But what about the other beaker, the one they took?
Well, that has a larger amount in it, but the reaction will take a little bit longer. But when it does, woo!
There's a little good news. Skylar is back, and he learned some new words.
Eldorado! Eldorado!
Well, at least he picked up a new word in his travels.
A new word.
Yeah, El Dorado. He never said that before.
El Dorado. That's what they call that old ghost town upstate.
That's right, Jimmy. It isn't much of a chance. We'll have to take it.
No, he means they're driving one of those new Cadillac Eldorados that just came out a couple of years ago.
What's this? Look. Bubbles.
You're the scientist. Tell us what it means.
Oh, no, not again.
He's still burping up the last one, and it doesn't taste anything like beef stew.
Look, you're not worth saving, but run for your lives. This may explode any minute.
That's it? But what about this?
Oh, if you hadn't smothered the force inside of you, the whole neighborhood would have been blown to bits.
But what about the other beaker, the one they took?
Well, that has a larger amount in it, but the reaction will take a little bit longer. But when it does, woo!
That smaller beaker that he drank was enough to blow up an entire neighborhood, but the big flask was barely enough to blow up that little shack. Obviously, with this formula, less is more. Skylar realized that he was a hero now, so before he would cough up any more of the formula, he demanded a bigger cage and his name on the research paper as one of the leading scientists on the project. Uncle Oscar didn't have much choice.
Thanks for watching, kids, and remember, clicking that like button is cool, subscribing is even cooler, leaving a comment is as cool as the coolest person you know, and becoming a patron makes you almost just like Superman. So don't hesitate. Do it today. Until next time.
I suppose Superman is going to go pin it between himself and the wall again like he did with the nitroglycerin last episode. You need to be in frame for that to work.